Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. This is our November 7th Town Council meeting. If I could have a roll call, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Cole.
Here.
Edwards. Here. Lee.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Casanello.
Present.
Aiken.
Here. Great. All right, our first item is our invocation. We have the privilege of having James Matchett with a New Life Church to be able to tell us something about the church, and then we'll go ahead and stand for our invocation.
Yes, thank you. It's an honor to be here. We're just around the corner on James Madison Highway. We have services at 9 and 11. We've been open, my family's been in the area for 3 years now, almost 3 years to the weekend. So, but our address is Gainesville, but we're heavily involved here in Haymarket. We've adopted a stretch of highway in front of Walmart. We regularly raise funds and bring in food for the Haymarket Regional Food Pantry, and we're big supporters and help the launching of the Crisis Pregnancy Center, the Haymarket House, and so we're here to serve. Anything we can do for you, please let us know.
We will. Great. Thank you.
You stand while I give the invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, we believe that you truly do want what's best for us, and we know that you know all things, and so we pray tonight for wisdom for our leaders, that they would make the right decisions, lead us forward in the right direction. We pray for your will to be done, and we pray that you would bless all those in the town of Haymarket. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. All right. We could remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Okay, our next item is our citizens' time. This will be an opportunity for someone to come up to the mic there, and just if you can state your name and address for the record. And so we'll open the floor for citizens. And do you have a microphone? Great, thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Sydney King, and
my name is Caitlin Owen.
And we are both Town of Haymarket residents and mentors for the Tyler STEM program. The Tyler STEM program is an after-school initiative at Tyler Elementary School where we meet every Monday during the school year and run science, math, and robotics centers that enrich the curriculum and SOL standards that they teach in the classrooms there. So the goal for the program is to create fun and exciting centers for the students there. And so, for example, last year we did in the science center, we talked about the science behind making ice cream, and then made the ice cream for the fifth graders. And so it's a kindergarten through fifth grade program, so we have all different range of activities. And we made mini terrariums that they got to take home. She runs a robotics center, and so they make robots and control them. So we decided to ask for support from the town of Haymarket because we've had 500 of the students, 500 students in the last 5 years come through the program, and the majority of them live in the town of Haymarket, and both of us live in the town of Haymarket. I've lived here for 13 years. She lived here for 7 years. We both went to Tyler. We were both involved in the robotics program there, so we wanted to create the program to give back to the students there. And I'm going to hand it over to Caitlin to talk a little bit more about our program and where we would use the money if you were to sponsor our program.
Okay, great.
Hello. STEM has been relying on the grant we initially received from Best Buy to operate the program each school year. Currently, we have a balance of $200, which is insufficient to effectively run the program. We seek $1,000 to maintain the program. This covers the cost of $6 per student, which includes a weekly snack, supplies for the Math, Science, and Robotics Center to complete planned activities, and a snack circuit for students to take home to explore with their families. At the end of the year, students and their families attend a showcase to share the STEM knowledge and skills they have gained through the program. Parents rave about STEM, for their child's participation in the program enables them to expand their curiosity and spark a desire to pursue a STEM career in their future. In addition, the continuation of the program will provide former STEM students who now attend Laurel Middle School the opportunity to return and become mentors themselves. With the town's support, the program will continue to engage students in the community by exposing them to the aspects of STEM and serve as a medium for students to uncover their interests. The council is welcomed to attend our meetings, which take place on Mondays from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Also, if the town were to sponsor the program, we would like to extend an invitation to the showcase and recognize the town as a sponsor. On behalf of the Tyler Elementary STEM program, thank you for your time and consideration.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
And then we have an example of our robotics curriculum for last year, if you'd like to look at it.
Sure, sure. Do you have just one copy?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, just pass it over to Denise, and she'll be definitely get us copies there.
That's all we have.
Well, great. Well, thank you very much. As you probably know, we do, I think, have a budget line item that we set aside, so we'll definitely be back in touch with you to see how we can meet your needs there.
Thank you. We put our contact information on the form. So.
Oh, good, good. Well, great, great. Thank you very much for coming out. Absolutely. Good job. Yep. Citizens' time.
Evening. Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul Drive. A year ago, I stood before you guys and warned you about the path you were heading down and the extent to which I saw fiscal problems in the future. It came to pass. Looked at the agenda last week when it was published online, and I noticed something missing. There's no treasurer's report, there's no P&L. It's the second straight month that you don't have a treasurer's report and a P&L. And I don't care that you fired your town treasurer or lost her. You're responsible to report that information to the public, to the taxpayers, and you're not doing it. That concern is heightened tonight when I walk in and see the addition to the agenda for tonight for the hearing, for the Genesis contract. That causes me grave concern given the new contract that you guys have entered into with your new provider. Hand in hand with the no P&L, there doesn't seem to be any physical controls going on, and nobody seems to know what's going on amongst you all. The new contract for your landscaping, provided by the town manager by a FOIA request, is interesting. Unlike the contract with the one that you're going to be hearing tonight, the contract is not the town's standard contract, reviewed for form and content by the town attorney. Rather, it's the standard HOA contract that particular service provider provides. And it even refers to the town as the association. They've just crafted it. I'm curious if any of you guys have even seen it. It lacks the statutory and fiscally responsible codicils that are required. Several of them. And I'm really kind of curious how you guys entered into this and what kind of path it's going to take you down. What's more concerning is the manner that it was handled. It wasn't handled by the town manager. He was gone when this contract was executed, although it doesn't have a date. It has the mayor's signature on it when he was acting as the town manager. I would also point out that both the mayor and the vice mayor have a personal and professional relationship with the new contractor through their association with their HOA. So there are a lot of questions that the rest of you guys should be asking and looking into before this gets dragged further down the rabbit hole. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Any other resident that would like to speak, this would be your opportunity.
I promise this. Hi, I'm Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street, Haymarket, and this is my granddaughter Grace Leonard and my grandson Reese Leonard and Grace's friend Caitlin, who lives just tipping into Fauquier County, but she lent her two hands to us tonight. I wanted to share with you the book. This. Let me just make one comment before we move on from what we all just had to listen to. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I am so proud of this town and so proud of what you all have done in the last 2.5 years. I am so at peace that we don't have to listen to the corruption that went on with the former regime, of which this sore loser was a part. So I thank God every day that we're on a positive path, that good things are happening, and I trust you to be doing the right things. If you ever don't, you'll hear from me. So that's all I'm going to say about that subject tonight. But I have to tell you every time I'm here that I see what's happening. You can't fix everything. Rome wasn't built in a day either. But I can tell you this one very positive thing. I had a dear friend who used to work for me, and she assisted me on one of the times that I ran for town council. She was sort of helping me with my little mini campaign, and she was a college student. She said she came through Haymarket. I haven't heard from her for 20 years. She called me a couple of weeks ago and said some very kind things about the town. She said, I drove through the town, but where do you live now? I said, I live on the main street. She said, oh, I can't believe it. When I drove through, I said, all of Dottie's dreams have come true. So you all have contributed to that. Some of you have lived here a long time, and I thank all of you who were a part of it. And I'm still seeing dreams come true. But this is one other little issue that I thought you all would be interested in, that the ARB should be interested in, that the Historic Commission should be interested in. It's called A Virginia Scene, or Life of Old Prince William. It was written in 1929 by a woman who had gotten all of her information from her grandmother. You all don't have, if you're uncomfortable, you don't have to hold them up so high. But, she had gotten all of her information from her grandmother, who lived to be in her 90s, who was alive during the Civil War. She lived out near the base of Bull Run Mountain on the Carolina Road. It was a nice dirt road, and she wasn't very happy about some roads getting paved. And there were some different types of vehicles on the road in 1929, and she was used to having a whole day's ride in a carriage, horse-drawn, down to Woodbridge or near the edge of the Potomac River. But one thing that she said in here, and Mr. Mayor, we did discuss this once before, that people had called Haymarket, I mean, there's at least one organization, the Masonic Lodge in town, that has Hay Space Market. I've been at a picnic at Long Park where another club handed out flyers saying Haymarket was the place people came to buy hay. And I'm sorry, but I grew up on a farm in Chantilly the first few years of my life, and then a mini farm in Fair Lakes, Fair Oaks. People didn't go to town to buy hay. They passed 1 million farms all the way to get to town. They bought it on the farms. During the Civil War, even the soldiers went to the farms and bought, borrowed, or stole whatever they needed in the way of hay, horses, food, etc. That's in this book too. This is in the, it can be bought in the historic buildings in the city of Manassas. But it says that Haymarket was named after, and she says it in a cute way. And oh, by the by, the village of our parish church, Haymarket, was named after a London race course. Yeah. And this is that London race course that I've had hanging in my house for more than 20 years, dated, it's called London, published by Thomas McLean, Haymarket 1824, but that's Haymarket, London, a race course that we were named after. We were founded 1799, which was 25 years before these pictures were done of the Haymarket, London, that we were named after. So I thought you'd be interested in knowing our real name was named after that race course. St. Paul's Church, everyone knows, was used for the hospital during the Civil War, and she addresses that in here, and very, very touching. I couldn't stop reading it, and I cried half the time when I was reading it because it's so much local stuff, mentioning local family names. And the last thing that I'll say is, which is something you can take back to the ARB, that the dye from berries was used for the paint and the color of the houses. They used walnuts to get brown and berries to get burgundy. There was no red.
Takata or terracotta, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Well,
for
thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you very much,
you,
Dottie. Yep.
I thought she was giving those to us.
All right. Anyone else that would like to speak at citizens' time? All right, we'll move on to our agenda items. Our minutes. Looking for a motion for September 22nd and October 24th as presented.
Mayor, I move to accept the minutes for September 22nd, 2016, and August 24th, 2016.
Motion by Councilman Cole,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Edwards. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
When opposed, abstentions, motion carries unanimously. Okay, our next item is Alzheimer's Awareness Month. I think we have Denise. Sure. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jane Priest. I work for the Alzheimer's Association. Delighted to be here tonight. My co-worker, Sonia Amate. We're pleased to be here again this year. We were here last year when you see it purple for us. Purple is our color. And we'd like to thank especially this honor of having the town recognize Alzheimer's Month. People who have Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia need to have people recognize that this is a brain disease that has a cure, but we haven't found it yet. And every time there's notice or every time somebody says the word Alzheimer's, it helps us create a sense of awareness so that we can find a cure. And we do have hope in the research world in that we're hoping within the next 5 years we're going to have a new therapeutic intervention. So it's very, very important that people know what those signs and symptoms are, because as soon as you recognize signs and symptoms and get medication of some sort, we're hoping to create that sense of awareness throughout the whole nation. So thank you for inviting us, and thank you very much for taking the time to honor Alzheimer's Month, which is November. So thank you for that.
Well, great. And we have a proclamation that we'd like to present to you and actually read, so we'll come off our dais here to present this and have Councilman Member Morris read it for us. Pardon me? Oh, well, we have one. Okay.
I might say, for any of you that came to the Tri-County Block in Manassas, this is Sonia, who was a fundraiser. She's one of the board managers. And usually she and I go out together. Wherever you see one, I'm the education person.
This is a fun note. We hold 7 walks annually, and the one that is held here in Prince William County is the only walk that is raised and exceeded its goal 3 years in a row. Thank you for your support.
Okay, sir, if you want to do the honors.
A proclamation to observe Alzheimer's Awareness Month. Whereas Alzheimer's disease is a progressive, degenerative disease of the brain, causing deterioration in memory and thinking, as well as judgment and reasoning ability. It also affects behavior, emotions, and the ability to perform day-to-day tasks. And whereas, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Alzheimer's is the only disease among the top 10 causes of death in the United States that cannot be prevented, cured, or even slowed. Whereas, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death for older adults in the United States. And whereas, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, every 67 seconds, someone in the United States develops Alzheimer's, and there is more than 5.1 million men and women living with Alzheimer's in the United States today. Whereas the state of Virginia recognizes individuals, families, friends, and caregivers dealing with the devastating effects of Alzheimer's disease, the researchers who are seeking a cause and cure, and the educational programs and support services provided by Virginia's Alzheimer's organizations. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Town Council of Haymarket, Virginia, does hereby recognize the month of November 2016 as Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and ask all citizens to join in observance of this disease that has or will impact each and every one of our lives, in witness thereof the 7th day of November 2016.
Group picture, and then we'll go across. I'll just come up here. All right, and we're back. All right, our next item here will be a presentation by VRE. We have the honor of having Doug Allen here to give us an update on what's going on out there.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it very much. I'm joined by Jason Mumford. Jason is with AECOM. He's a consultant that we've been working with on developing the information I'm going to share with you today on the Gainesville Haymarket Extension. I'm going to be speaking from the presentation that you have at your place. Each of the slides are numbered, so I may be referring to a slide by number. And the purpose of the presentation is, as you mentioned, to give you an update on this study that we've been doing. The Gainesville Haymarket extension has been talked about by VRE for quite a few years. And a few years ago, when we completed our long-range plan, which we call a system plan, we identified that the Gainesville Haymarket extension was something that we really needed to study in more detail at the appropriate time. And so after a few years, we finished our system plan. We did some other planning and identified that now's the time to advance the work and study of Gainesville Haymarket extension. We went and hired Jason and his firm to help us with that. We've been working with your group, you and Mr. Pasanello and others, as well as Prince William County, Manassas, and others, to put together the planning and to develop information that is based on quantitative analysis, based on kind of the state-of-the-art analysis that goes into these kind of studies, to share it not only with the technical staff, but also the policy staff. So on Wednesday, we have a meeting of the Policy and Planning Committee, the Policy and Executive Committee, which is made up of elected officials and executive-level staff members to present the same information, with the goal of making a decision on what we do in this area at the December Operations Board meeting. So the project goals are shown on page 3. Obviously, I-66 is a major issue from a transportation standpoint. The state's done a lot, and most recently entered into an agreement to expand 66. But our goal is to also expand VRE's capacity to help serve 66. And you see some of the other goals. So our analysis has been built around those various goals. From a project overview standpoint, the schedule on page 4, we're right in the middle of the planning phase where we've done enough analysis to start sharing information so that we can make a decision on what alternatives we should continue to look at to do more detailed study. Page 5 shows the entire process that's used in developing these projects, and we are at the point where in the first, I guess, orange diamond, where we want to be recommending to our operations board what projects we take forward into the NEPA, which is the environmental process that gets into not only more detail on the numbers, but also looks at the potential environmental impacts of these various projects. Page 6 is a reminder. When we talked to you last, I believe we mentioned this. The Gainesville Haymarket Extension would use a section of Norfolk Southern track that's referred to as a B-line. It's a very important track that the Norfolk Southern has. It's how they get to the rest of the country, and so a lot of their trains, and you'll see them go by their double-stack trains to carry goods really from, a lot of them from the Port of Virginia out to the rest of the country. So it's a very important line, so we need to be working with them on how do we, if we were to come out this way, how do we add capacity to their railroad, which allows them to continue to do what they're doing and allows us to do what we're doing. So I just wanted to highlight that that's a very important part of our effort. Next slide talks about one of the goals being supporting local land use and economic development plans. We've incorporated that kind of thought process in our planning. The next slide on page 8 is a graphic that refers to how much benefit we provide to the I-66 corridor, particularly outside the Beltway, with the capacity that we provide on our trains, and with the idea that we want to expand the number of trains that we're running on the Manassas line, which is another benefit, another aspect of this study. So on page 9, we have depicted here a number of combinations of stations and alignments. So the lines in green refer to that we show here are referred to as the broad run terminus options, and I'll show you that here in a minute. So one option is to stay at Broad Run. We'll have to relocate it. I'll show you that in a minute. Then the other options talk about coming out towards Haymarket, going as far as Innovation, or as far as Prince William Station, or as far as another location that I'll show you here in a minute in the Gainesville area, or coming all the way out to Haymarket. So we've looked at all those options in our analysis that we'll talk about here in a second. Page 10 shows the various yard sites that we've looked at. They're the ones that are the boxes, and various station sites, which are the red or the orange circles. So on page 11 is one of the reasons we initiated this study now, and that is the Broad Run equipment storage facility, which is shown in blue with the lines that represent where the tracks are at that storage facility. In red is the station parking for our Broad Run station, which is right at the same complex. The 100-year floodplain is shown kind of surrounding the site, and we're also boxed in by the Norfolk Southern on the north end. So we don't have a large, we don't have a lot of room. We don't have any room to really expand our maintenance of equipment. So even if we were to add one more train, we wouldn't have the room at that yard to add it. We have plans to add more trains to the Manassas line, and so before we do that, though, we need to know where we're going to store the trains. And it's either expanding this yard, or since we said we wanted to study the Gainesville Haymarket extension, we wanted to study to see if we wanted to come out this direction so that we could put the yard at the end of this line. So that's why it all kind of fits together, that our reason for doing this now is we can't expand service on the Manassas line without a bigger yard. So we either expand this yard or build a bigger yard at the end of any line that comes out towards Haymarket. Okay? The next page just shows if we were to expand the Broad Run yard by moving the Broad Run station, page 12, it shows how we would do that, where the tracks would be lined up, and you can see they would go through the parking lots, which is why we'd have to move the station if we chose to do it there. The next page on page 13 shows if we were to just relocate the Broad Run station, where we're looking at to perhaps do that, which would be on the eastern side of the airport, and that's shown on page 13. These two, the reason I'm emphasizing this, we have two basic options: either move the Broad Run station to these sites I just mentioned, or to come out here towards Haymarket. Those are the two major options that are being considered and I want to get into more detail then on the options that are coming out towards Haymarket. So we looked at various options. Page 14 shows where the innovation station could be. And if we only went as far as innovation, in blue you see where the innovation yard would be, if we only went as far as innovation. If we went further than innovation, on page 15 you'll see a Gainesville station and then another Gainesville station called Site G2, G1 and G2. And near Station G2 you'll see a couple of yard sites out in that area. So the option could be to go to Innovation, Gainesville, another Gainesville, and then have the yard at the end of the second Gainesville station. And then the one you've seen before, I think, is coming out all the way out to Haymarket with a couple station options and then yard sites in blue beyond the station sites. All of those combinations have been studied and analyzed to determine what the costs and benefits are of each of those. Page 17 reflects part of that analysis. I mentioned before the first bar you see that totals 10,220 riders. That's the forecast for essentially our existing service in 2040, but only running 16 trains a day. Each of these other bars reflect various options that I just walked through. For instance, the Broad Run relocated, going from 16 trains to 22 trains. The ridership goes up from 10,220 to 15,350. And then the other options are going going out to Innovation or Gainesville, the other Gainesville or Haymarket. So what this slide shows you is the ridership projections for each of these options in 2040. The next slide is a map that just depicts graphically the kind of information the model generates of where riders would be coming from to get on these various options. This happens to show the Broad Run with the relocated Broad Run station and then the Haymarket terminus. The other thing it showed, that because we were getting questions from Prince William County, is the percentage of projected riders that would be living in Prince William County versus living in other locations. So a Broad Run relocated option, 33% of all the riders on the area would be coming from Prince William County, but that goes up to 37% coming out to Haymarket. That has implications on the amount of subsidy that each of the jurisdictions would pay for the operating costs. It was a question that we had received, and so we have included that in the analysis. So on page 19, we reflect all of those options I just referred to in the slide that showed ridership, and have shown what the cost estimates are for the various components. The stations, the railroad right-of-way, although I need to caveat that's subject to Norfolk Southern's review and approval, and they've not agreed to anything yet. But that's the number that we've plugged in that we think is reasonable for our analysis. All the track infrastructure, the maintenance facility associated with it. Rolling stock refers to the trains, locomotives, cab cars, rail cars. And it reflects not only the total capital cost, but the projected annual operating cost for the various options. And then on page 20, what we've done there is taken the ridership numbers and the cost numbers and calculated out. The bottom line literally is what the incremental cost or the additional cost for additional ridership for each of these options, looking at how many riders we would get, what the operating cost is, what the capital cost is. And that is shown on the bottom line, which indicates that the Broad Run relocated would be less incremental cost per rider than the other options, according to all of this analysis that we've done. On page 21, we also have looked at potential funding sources. Locally and regionally, we are fortunate to at least have options to tap into NVTA funding, tap into funding that the state has called Smart Scale, But we also would need to tap into federal sources, and so we've looked at what kind of federal funding might be available for this type of project. Federal Transit Administration uses these criteria to help judge whether a project is worthy of getting funding or not, and they use this criteria all across the country. And it looks at the things in blue and the things in red. There are two federal programs that use these criteria, but they weight them differently. They put a different weight on them. New Starts is where you're going to a new area, a new line where a line does not exist, like going out to Haymarket. It's a new line. So that would fall under the New Starts criteria, which uses these factors but has a slightly different way of looking at it than the other way of doing federal funding, which looks at where you currently are but you're at capacity and you want to add capacity to that line, and that's called core capacity. So the Broad Run extension falls under the core capacity program. Anything coming out towards Haymarket would fall under the New Starts funding. And our analysis, which is shown on page 22 then, indicated that Broad Run Terminus would not be eligible for New Starts funding because it already exists there. But any extension that falls under New Starts, based on the numbers that they use, we don't think it would be likely that we would be able to receive any New Starts funding from the federal government for any extension that comes out towards Haymarket. Core capacity, however, and the Broad Run Terminus, because they're using different criteria, the relocated Broad Run alternative, we think, would compete, be able to compete for those core capacity funds. So the bottom line on that is the amount of funding that we would get from the federal government is about half of the cost of what we're trying to achieve. And we would not be very successful. We don't think we'd be successful to get any New Starts funding from the federal government, but we think we would be competitive to get core capacity funding from the federal government, which means that the Broad Run relocated option would be more likely to get federal funding and funding from the other participants than any extension coming out to Haymarket would be, which means that we would be having to find those funds from some other regional or state source to try and make up that gap between what the federal government, what we were looking for from the federal government, and what we think we would be able to get from them. And then the operating sources are pretty much consistent between the two. The last couple pages, page 24, and then I'll answer questions you might have. We have a number of committees that we've set up so that we can share this information, get dialogue, get people to understand what our options are and what the information is showing us. And on Wednesday, we have one of those meetings. The Policy Advisory Committee, in combination with the Executive Steering Committee, is going to be meeting. And if you need the location of that meeting, we'd be glad to share that with you. Jason has it. And then we have a number of other, both a Technical Advisory Committee, Community Advisory Committee, and then we'll have a public meeting on December 7th. We also have shared this information with the City of Manassas and Prince William County, and now with the town of Haymarket, and we're asking if you would like to weigh in and give us your thoughts on the whole process, and we're certainly looking forward to that kind of feedback. We anticipate that both Manassas and Prince William County will probably pass a resolution in regards to these findings to express their thoughts on the results. And the intent is to receive feedback through all these sources by middle of December, and we're kind of targeting our December operations board meeting, which I think is the 19th, but I'd have to be checking on that. At the December operations board meeting to potentially be taking some action on deciding which option or options we carry forward to the next phase of analysis, which would be preliminary engineering and environmental assessments. So that is a tremendous amount of information. You've been very patient with me, sharing a lot. So I am willing to answer any questions you might have and try to shed light on it.
Absolutely. And there again, thank you for the presentation. I'll look to the council to see. Go ahead, Councilman Morris.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentation. On page 21 and also on page 22, could you explain a little bit more why it would be unlikely to get New Start on the extension and also us not being, or the project not being eligible for core capacity?
Yes. Let me start with the second part of that question. So the federal program that deals with New Starts is looking for new rail lines primarily. Could be bus lines or bus rapid transit lines that go into new territory that transit doesn't exist, a fixed skyway doesn't exist, which is what we're talking about here, that coming out towards Haymarket would definitely be in the New Starts category. They have based the criteria, and it changes every 5-6 years. And now the criteria is really focused on projects that carry a lot of people. We don't carry a lot of people, but we take people long distances. But the criteria they've established is a very high bar as far as carrying a lot of people. So they're looking really to fund urban projects, very heavily used light rail projects. Any kind of extension of a metro, for instance, would do very, very well in the New Starts. That's the criteria that the federal government has for New Starts. Very high bar for us to reach. We just don't carry the number of people to be able to compete with that. The other program is core capacity, where if you have a rail line that's at capacity, which VRE is at capacity, in an existing area, and what you need is funding to expand that capacity, that's the type of project they're looking for. And that's exactly what VRE is. We're at capacity, and we can show that during certain times of the day. And relocating Broad Run so we can add capacity to add cars is a project that will fare very well in that core capacity program. That's why we think we would be able to compete well for that.
But it indicates here that it's not eligible for the extension? Page 22.
So the Broad Run is not eligible for New Starts funding because it's not going to a new area. And the extension, coming out to Haymarket, is not an existing line, and so it couldn't be considered as a core capacity project. That's why it's not eligible to be considered. It's a different. Anything coming out of new alignment is a New Start. Anything that's on an existing alignment is a core capacity. It just is the criteria.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions?
What would the town have to financially supply to VRE in order for it to come out this far? If that were, would we have to put funds into this?
Well, the heavy burden is to come up with over $400 million that the federal government would be looking to the federal government to help pay. That $400 million, and again, that's an estimate at this point, without finalizing anything with Norfolk Southern, would have to come from some source. And it would either have to be jurisdictions, the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority, or the state. We don't think we'd be able to compete. We don't think we'd be able to get that much money from those sources, but that's what would have to happen for us to be able to afford to do that. After that, the operating cost is higher to come out this far because it's further, and our subsidy is funded by some federal dollars, some state dollars, but then it comes down to local dollars, and the local dollars come from gas tax, and then the share of each of the jurisdictions is based on where the riders are living, where the riders live.
Mm-hmm.
So coming out here, there'd be more riders and longer distances, and so Prince William County's share of our subsidy would be increased.
But what about the towns?
The town is not part of that. The town is part of the county under that calculation.
So we don't have to put anything towards the station or anything if it's in the towns?
No.
Okay.
Steve, any questions? Hey, Doug, thank you very much for coming tonight. I just want to say publicly that VRE did a great job on this study. Unfortunately, it's not
I don't think it's the result that I was hoping for, and I don't think it's the result that many of us were hoping for, because the ridership numbers aren't as robust as we'd like them to be for a variety of reasons. I think what it tells us is, though, that we need to reach out to our elected officials here in the county and let them know that we do want an expansion of VRE service. And I think personally, and from my experience of 42 years in the transportation industry, the minimum should be the Broad Run terminus, expansion and the relocation to Godwin or somewhere in that area for the station. We need to expand that. And what we're talking about is 16 trains to 22 trains a day, and that's significant. You can only do so much expansion by adding cars. Sooner or later, you got to add trains. I think the key here isn't the capital costs. I think we're very strong, or at least VRE is very strong on the core capacity funding, statewide, federal-wise. Actually, core capacity is the federal side. I think the bigger issue is going to be the operating cost, if I'm right, and correct me if I'm wrong here. We are a member of the county. We pay our taxes like everybody else, and I think we need to let our elected officials know that we want to see at a minimum expansion of service. It'll have better accessibility off of 234. There are a number of things about it that are very good that I can put together something for the council as we maybe discuss a resolution as suggested. I'd be very happy to take the lead on that. But I think really what this says is that the study is kind of pointing us in the direction of doing the expansion on the main line at Manassas and at Broad Run. No question there, but just a statement and a comment. But I want to.
Well, and then let me just say that Joe's analysis is accurate. He's a professional. He's been involved in this before, you go into these studies with an open mind. You want to see where the numbers lead you, and I think Jason and his group did a really good job, really very professional job, and this is what the numbers are. It's our best assessment of the situation, and I think the good news is I think there's a strong market in this part of the county, and it just may not be in this area immediately, but the analysis indicated that the majority of the people who will ride the system will come from long distances to use it, because 66 is not going to get, even with this great project that they're doing, it's going to get better, but they recognize it's not going to solve everything, and to have an expanded VRE out in this part of the region is a benefit to people living out in this region. And the numbers speak for themselves, but I think Joe's point is right on, that we do need to add more capacity to VRE, and to do that we need to have capacity somewhere, whether it's at Broad Run or out in this direction. So.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Doug? All right. Well, we thank you, sir. We thank you for your time.
Thank you
absolutely.
very much for everything. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right, our next item would be our change order proposal from Rinker Design. I think.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Anyway, there it is. We had discussed this, I think, a meeting or so back about the potential or the feasibility of some additional study work for the town center redevelopment site, and the advantages of doing some additional engineering to determine the location, size of our existing water and sewer lines that are currently located on the site. Two reasons for that, one being to avoid them during rough grading and construction. The other reason to be the second part of this study and the change order would be to come up with some sort of a utility plan where we could provide independent metering for the respective lease properties that we have here. As you know, the lease properties now are master metered to a certain degree, which makes it more difficult to separate out the water and sewer utility buildings, and makes it more difficult for us as a landlord to bill them accordingly. So this study would provide both the location, the enhanced location of the water lines, and some sort of plan to meter the buildings independently, respectively. The cost of the change order is $4,970, and if you'll look on packet page 40, you'll see a breakout of those costs. And also, it's a summary of the cost year-to-date that we've spent with the project on page 41.
Okay, we have a, if we don't have any questions regarding this, we have a sample motion on packet page number 10.
Actually,
6BA.
John's question.
Sure, absolutely.
Just on the fiscal impact, is that order fee, is that within the budget, or are we going to have to move to get it, move that funding over from someplace else?
I think it is in the current budget for the current fiscal year. A lot of the money that we had spent here had been spent in prior fiscal years. I think this year we've only spent around $55,000, I believe, on the project. So I think we could probably absorb it in the existing budget.
Okay, great. And I would just say that I think, doing it now makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
I mean, I can't imagine what it would cost if we were to do it later. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I move the Haymarket Town Council approve change order number 3 with Rinker Design Associates for water and sewer layout for the town center redevelopment project in the amount of $4,970.82.
Motion by Councilman Morris, and seconded by Vice Mayor Pasnella. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Passanello.
Aye.
Aiken.
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Okay. Our next item is naming of our community park. So tell us how it went. How many?
With the direction of council, 3 months ago, staff was asked to have a park naming contest for our community park here in Haymarket. And through social media, on our website, and also push to text, you could name the community park, as well as there were 8 suggestions that were given as well. We received over 1,200 votes.
Wow.
Yes, 1,200 votes. And it came down to 2 names, and the one being Haymarket Community Park, and the second one being Hare Park. And with a margin of 36 votes, the town of Haymarket was the winning name.
Wow. Yes. All right, okay. All right, so we have a resolution here, too.
All of it?
Page number 16.
All of it.
Let's go for broke. Resolution 2016-016, resolution of the Town of Haymarket Council to name the community park within its corporate limits. Whereas in January 2016, the Haymarket Town Council adopted a master plan for a community park to be located at the town's 5-acre parcel at the east end of town on Washington Street. And whereas that plan calls for the development of a pavilion, walking trails, amphitheater, parking, and open space for outdoor activities. And whereas the town solicited naming suggestions from the public and considered park neighbors' opinions on such suggestions. And whereas the town council finds and determines that the 5-acre parcel in the town of Haymarket should be formally named as hereby provided. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the council of the town of Haymarket, Haymarket, Virginia, meeting in regular session the 7th day of November 2016, hereby name the following property Haymarket Community Park.
So moved.
So moved.
All right. You have a second?
I wanted to make you sweat a little bit.
Second?
Second.
All right. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Wonderful. All right, our next one is item number E, the designation of our zoning administrator. And we're on page number 17.
No.
With,
Yeah. All of this again?
and a designation of resolution on number 18. If we don't have to, we can move, no, we can move just to, move to approve resolution 20016.
Dash 015.
Yep.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2016-015, designation of zoning administrator.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cole. Discussion on the motion? Go roll call vote, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Puccinello.
Aye.
Aiken.
Yes. All right. Our next item on our agenda is our contract hearing. And I believe we have a separate handout on your dais there. This hearing, this will be an opportunity for us to hear, as we all know, we have a dispute in our contract that formerly from Genesis Contracting, so I believe he's represented by counsel this evening. Just to kind of give everybody the format for a hearing, this will be their opportunity to give information regarding the dispute. We also have the town's information here, and then just to kind of give you an idea, sir, how this will happen is, once we hear all the information that you'd like to provide to the town, we'll then meet in an executive session, and then per our contract, we would give the notice of the resolution within, I think there's a 10 days period. So I welcome you to the town and to be able to hear this information, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
My name is Richard Langford, and I'm representing Genesis Contracting and Consulting. I have a packet for each of you, but if you have the packet that was provided by Jerry Shero, that may be sufficient. Do you each have a copy of it?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen and lady. It's nice to be in front of a public body that represents the way politics should run, especially on the eve of the election. I would like to call your attention, if I may, to a number of things, a bit by bit, to explain this. I understand from my client, and having spoken to Martin Krim, who, by the way, I have never met before, but I will say that I think you are lucky to have him. He's been a zealous advocate, but also very professional towards me, so I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
This is all going to boil down in the end to one issue, I believe, and that is during the time that Genesis was providing the landscaping service to the town, there were many discussions with Brian Henshaw about what needed to be done. And you, Mayor, know that there were extra things you wanted done. And during the time that these guys were providing this service, the streetscaping for Washington Street expanded, and there were a lot of more utility strips and tree rings and other areas to be mowed. One thing you may be missing if you have the packet provided by Mr. Shero is I did have a color-coded exhibit, which was 7 and 8. Is your copy color-coded? Because if not, I'd like to distribute the color-coded copies.
No, yeah, we do have. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Mark, I don't believe I have one for you, but I think you've seen it.
Thank you.
Actually, I do have an extra. Take it. Thank you. If you would look at Exhibit 7, which unfortunately was bigger than my copier, so you may have to put the two sheets together. They're a map. And the cuts that were originally done by the contractor are marked in yellow. This was the original work when Genesis started providing services to the town. And then as the Washington streetscape expanded and other items were tasked to them, and the town came to them to ask them to do additional work, they added the work that you see in purple there, which is practically all of Washington Street and some additional areas. This is also described in Exhibit 8, and unfortunately the colors were switched, but the added work on that Exhibit 8 is in yellow. And so the added work, including mowing all the utility strips along Washington Street, doing the work at Gossam Corner, utility corner of Blight Drive in Washington Street, the berm at the corner of St. Paul Drive in Washington Street, the swath of land between the veterinarian clinic and houses on the corner of Hunting Path, practicing proactive weed control along Washington Street, the sidewalks, the planter boxes, the tree wells, etc., treating the paver walkways along Washington Street, performing all weed eating along Washington Street and the town properties, removing grass and debris from Washington Street, and then adding beds because of the additional work. Now, it is true, as you will note on Exhibit 1, that certain charges were made to the town. Originally, in the older invoices, which I do not have attached there, but which you can verify by town records, the charge for doing the landscaping was coming out monthly during the mowing months at $2,115. And then when the additional work was requested and performed, the price went up to $3,116.75, which was about a 1/3 increase. And that was done because there was more additional work. The problem that I have had as an attorney with this and with the town's position is this new price of $3,116.75 was charged during May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and then again in April, and I believe that is 8 or 9 months. And so the new price was charged, the new price was paid. No one came to the contractor and said, this price is too high, or we're not going to pay this price, or we question this price. And so these guys had to pay their subs to do the work, and they were expecting to be paid, and then all of a sudden, the last 3 or 4 invoices, someone from the town stood up and said, we're not paying these, they're in dispute. And we think that that is fundamentally unfair. If that was a position you were going to take, Mayor, we suggest that the just thing would have been to say something to them in May of 2015. I would also call to the council's attention that this was not something that was sprung on the town. I have committee meetings of a committee of public facilities at which Councilwoman Pam Swinford, who I believe is no longer on the board, was present. Mr. Morris was present. The town manager, Brian Henshaw, was present. And Mayor David Leake was present, in which it was discussed that the cost of the landscaping for the town had risen. And so this was not something that was a surprise to the town. And I think that it is, again, unfair, and I know you don't want to be unfair because I know that you're under financial stress with the budget, at least public records have said so. I don't know personally whether it's true or not, but I've read that the town is hundreds of thousands of dollars off budget. I don't know if that's true or not. If it is, please correct me. But we don't think it's fair that because there's financial stress on the town, that the bills of someone that has done work for you not be paid. And we would ask that the bills be paid for the reasons I've stated.
Okay, all right. Any clarifications that any of the council members have that would like to clarify any statements that were made? Nope. So I'm not sure if we should address that one comment that it's kind of unsettling that there's public comment that our town is.
Or an opinion.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have something.
Exactly. Yeah. So, if there's nothing else you'd like to provide to us, then we'll go ahead and close our hearing. Yep. Okay.
I've tried to be considerate of your time. I know that we've just changed the clocks, and I'm used to being in court in the morning and not in front of astute professionals in the evening, so I will end it there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Our next items on our agenda is our engineer's report. We have a package, page 20 and 21. Yep, there's the only thing I didn't see, Jerry, I'm not sure. I know Holly, we had requested that one format to update us on all the projects and stuff like that. So maybe we just didn't get that in the this information here.
On the spreadsheet?
Yeah, the spreadsheet.
Okay, I know she would have worked on that, but
Okay, yeah.
it's not in the packet.
Not a problem. Okay, so if there's no other question regarding that, we'll move on to the next department.
Sir, just before you move
Sure.
on, I would
Absolutely.
like to keep on this ongoing list, Jerry, the Dominion Power Pole, the one in front of Giuseppe's. I would like to keep that on the list. And I think that's why initially I had asked for an ongoing list, so we strike it off whenever it's completed. So I know that her last report was they hit rock, but it's still there. And if it's right there in front of us, I think it would be a good reminder. So,
I'll get that information to you.
thank you, sir.
Okay. All right, our next is our building officials report, page 22 and 23, and page 24. Sometimes he does, yeah.
You've never seen it?
Yep.
So make a request.
We were just stating that sometimes Joe does come to some of the meetings, but we could request him to maybe come to next month's meeting. Especially.
Maybe periodically, maybe set it
sorry?
because I
Never met him. Oh, okay.
I know he does have a busy schedule, but if we have a set schedule in place for him to show up at a certain time or maybe once a quarter at a particular time, it would be good just to see him at times.
Yeah, I'll have him here.
Thank you.
Okay. No other questions for that. We'll move on to our police report. Chief Noble. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Council. Good evening.
Sir.
Well, as always, let me start out with significant incidents, and really just a couple that I want to bring to your attention. The first was a vehicle that was traveling on Washington Street, really in the early afternoon, unusual time, and the driver reported to us that he was struck by a series of paintballs. And while that might seem somewhat juvenile and not particularly serious, the fact remains that in the Commonwealth of Virginia, that's a felony. And so we've pursued that case relatively vigorously. Do have some leads that we're continuing to work on, and it remains an active case. The only other call of significance was a domestic assault that occurred in the 14,000 block of Southern Crossing Street. And again, in that case, an adult female assaulted a family member. She was taken into custody as the law requires, and at the time was held on a cash bond at the Prince William County Adult Detention Center. Moving on, crashes for the month of September jumped up a little bit from what I am accustomed to seeing on a monthly basis. Typically, it's about 3 crashes. It jumped up to 5. What is interesting is although I guess I'll talk about this more next month, but this past month it jumped up yet again to 6 for the month. The commonality amongst the vast majority of those crashes is that they virtually all, not everyone, but virtually all of them occur on Route 15, and the vast majority of those are right at I-66 on the ramps or at the signals. And again, when you transit through that area, it's just particularly obvious that with the way the lanes are shifting and the confusion with the Jersey barricades and cones and the ongoing construction, it's just a challenge for motorists. I don't know that there's an enforcement function in there that you could do to reduce crashes. It's simply going to be a matter of getting that work done as soon as possible and getting that diamond interchanged into operating form. But again, it's concerning to see the crashes start to climb like that. With our overall traffic enforcement, again, we continue on a pace that's more typical. Late summer, there have been some drop, but it was back up in September into what is typical, I think, of the pattern for what we normally see in Haymarket. Again, the quality of those summons, particularly with the speed enforcement, is that we continue to write the vast majority of speeding tickets in our reduced zones in town. Very few of those overall are written at highway speeds. Again, I will note that the continuing trend is that as a ratio, reckless driving by speed continues to be very high in town. And 2013, if that were a benchmark, where at this time 80 summons were written for reckless driving, but over a great, vast, much larger number of summons, for us to be over half of that for what essentially is reduced speed enforcement is, again, just, I think, probably indicative of a continuing issue with the public not realizing that they're entering reduced speed zones. And certainly the speed monitoring signs are up. There's nothing, as we continually patrol town, there's nothing that indicates that people don't know they're coming into reduced speed zones. Maybe it's too many cell phones in front of faces and too much distraction in the cockpit of the vehicle. But certainly those ratios overall are demonstrating that as opposed to us slowing people down, they continue to drive at relatively high speeds through town.
I think it's more, I'm finding more and more that people are passing me on the right coming into town. You know, I'm going 25. I always like to look at the sign and see how fast I'm going. And then people are zipping in that right turn lane and passing me. And at that point, my car becomes a missile. You know, people don't, I don't know, do we need a bigger sign? Do we need...
You know, what's interesting about that dynamic that you just described is that typically in the past, we felt relatively free to write operators for violating a highway sign because those are right lane turn only. And the discussion that we had in court as one of those cases was adjudicated was that the judge's opinion is that those signs don't govern right turns into private property. And so, for instance, if somebody at around Piedmont Tire got into that lane, motorists would typically expect, okay, they're going to make a right turn into Piedmont or go down to the Iceplex. This judge's opinion is that no, that person has the right to travel in that lane until they get to Fayette and turn right on Fayette. Whoa. And so that is sort of an interesting ruling that's
But
going to
they're
make
not
that.
doing that.
So the
Then they're
solid
coming back.
white line means absolutely nothing.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Oh. If I might add to that was a real problem on Centerville Road in Manassas, and they ended up putting the white pylons in there to actually make it a little bit more inconvenient for people to drive straight in the right turn only lanes because they're going to hit a bunch of pylons and knock them down.
Yeah, there's actually not every entrance is characterized with a solid white line. In fact, I think the majority of that travel lane is actually open. And so you'd almost, when you talk to some of these motorists, you get the sense that they really actually think, okay, well, I can travel down this lane to Fayette. Now, I'm not excusing, and nor are we really, in this context, discussing the fact that they're going over 25. That's a separate issue, which is easy to deal with. But I do think it's interesting that it is a little bit more difficult to govern that behavior now based on that judge's ruling.
Wow. Yes. Chief, can I just ask, could it be possible that this increase that we're seeing here is because of an increase in the vigilance of the officers?
It could be. And it could also be part, maybe not so much that that the offenses are increasing. It could be, too, that maybe they're more diligent in writing as reckless driving. And sometimes officers will write something that statutorily is reckless driving, but they'll still write it as speeding.
Right.
Now, our system, our records management system is going to capture the state code. So if it's written under a speeding charge, it's going to show up as speeding. I don't know. This now is purely sort of an instinctual feeling on my part, is that particularly with the opening of the Jefferson Street Bridge, people are just entering town fast. They enter it fast.
Yep.
Chief, is reckless driving 20 over?
Depending on the speed zone, but typically it's 20 or more.
Okay. What about the 25?
Absolutely.
So it is 20 there, not 15?
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
You have something you need to share?
I'm just saying that people are almost double the speed limit, and that's way too fast.
I just think that, God willing, in the next 2 years, we're going to see a good trend, as the officers continue to write the tickets. We're going to see a good, beginning from what happened last year, just a good trend. It's going to give us a good idea.
You don't want to get caught up in volume of summons, because volume of summons don't necessarily mean a lot. But I'm always impressed with the quality of the summons. And again, if the vast majority of speeding tickets, for instance, are being written on reduced speed zones, to me, anyway, that's exactly what you want.
Okay.
I just have one quick question. Out here on where you say the accidents have been, the increase in the accidents, is it possible that perhaps VDOT could do better signage when the lanes change, or they could put portable lights out there so people could see better? It's really dark there. Are people just not, or do you think it's just the nature that the construction's going on and we're just going to have to?
Again, looking at what was occurring, two of the crashes were improper turns, and one was following too closely, which was a rear-ender. The other was not having a right-of-way, which probably is about the same as an improper turn.
Yeah.
And I would be at a loss to suggest to VDOT what they could do differently.
Right.
Only because the constraints are so numerous.
Yeah.
You know, the one engineering issue we did identify when southbound Route 15 traffic was turning on to eastbound 66, they were very good about fixing that, that signal and making it so people weren't confused. But even then, you know, they talked a lot about the infrastructure in place and how it limited what they can do because of the, again, the constraints of the construction site.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, very little infrastructure in terms of poles or other solutions to additional lighting. But again, it between barrels and cones and Jersey barriers, it's just, and lane shifts, it's just very confusing.
Yeah, I don't typically come up to this exit. I get off down there, but one day I decided, and I said, oh, I'm not going to do that again. Yeah, it's pretty bad getting off there.
And of course, again, a high, probably a higher than normal percentage of traffic that is interstate traffic. You see the tags from all up and down the East Coast, from Florida to Maine, coming down Route 15. So they have no idea what they're getting into. And sometimes those folks are a fraction.
Could be worse. Could be a roundabout.
Yeah.
Could be worse.
Give it time. So we did have some community relations events over September. I participated in the quarterly ASAT meeting, which of course is the alcohol awareness program that works with, in particular, DUI drivers and others. And again, that's more than free lunch. That really is about liaisoning with a group that has been, I think, very charitable in funding when you ask for it, and anything that may be related to alcohol enforcement. Really, you can ask them, and many times they'll help you out with funding. So it's always a good group to maintain some liaison with. And of course, we were all hands on deck for Haymarket Day on September 17th. And then finally, I did attend the annual Virginia Association of Chiefs of Police Conference in Roanoke at the end of the month. And of course, as part of that, as a continuing current initiative, we still are working with Ford Motor Company to explore the idea of leasing cruisers as opposed to purchasing them. And we at the end of last week, finally finished a list of equipment on how we want to equip a cruiser in terms of siren boxes and bar lights and everything else. And those specs would then go to Ford, and they would price it out as a package. And then I would ask them to provide us with figures for a 3-year lease and a 5-year lease with ownership at the end of each. And so we'll probably get that to them before the end of the month and see what they have to say. Also, at the mayor's urging, we broke out the speed trailer and put it on Washington Street. It held for about 4 days, and before it finally went kaput, we probably left it out there too long after it did go kaput. But so there is some life in it, and we can use it over short periods of time. It appears that probably solar panels just aren't doing a great job recharging the battery, particularly overnight. So it won't be the most functional, but we can still, for short duration periods, get it out for 3 or 4 days, if nothing else, on battery power alone, and then bring it back and recharge it. So not fully functional, but again, we knocked the dust off and got it up and running.
I think that was a good spot as well, that we can keep the monitor. I've got a new spot I'll send to you later, and I think we'll have an electric outlet to be able to keep it going.
If Dominion is here anyway, Dominion could
Give us
find
an
a way to
outlet.
put that transformer that's there from the pole that we could plug into.
That's always an option. We'll probably just put the battery on a trickle charger or something like that.
They do have some poles that have outlets, don't
Yes.
Yeah, some do and some don't, but the one out there definitely does not have electric, but sounds like if we can't get the solar working, staging it by areas that do have outlets. Yeah.
And last but not least, I will categorize this as a current initiative, but as you all know, I announced my retirement effective December 31st.
What?
And Let me say two things. Number one, that I'm deeply honored by your trust in me, and that you've offered me the opportunity to lead this police department, and have been, I think, as gracious a mayor and a town council as you can be in letting me do my job and partnering with me to make that agency climb in professionalism. And I'm fully confident that as this town moves forward and you pick another chief, that process will continue. I will also say, though, equally passionately, is that my wife and I have in total contributed 60 years of our lives to law enforcement. And I think we've done our part. And there's a point in time where you have sacrificed enough and have been a part enough that you decide it's time to enjoy the fruits of your labor, so to speak. And I think that's where we're at now. So that is the journey that we are going to start January 1st next year. And it will be, as they all say, maybe a little bit bittersweet, but I will be perfectly honest and say I'm very much looking forward to it. So again, if you have any questions about what I reported on, I'm here for you.
Start from this end. Steve, anything? No. Vice Mayor?
Well, I'm going to be disappointed to see you go. But I understand completely because I'm in the same position, and you can't buy time. It's one of the things you can't buy, and it's really important to enjoy yourself. So I think you've done a great job, and I wish you all the luck in the world. And maybe we'll see you on your hog sometime. Not sure.
That's been told.
Probably not ever a Harley, but
yeah, okay.
There's a new ride out there.
Okay.
The garage is fully equipped.
All right. Well, thanks for your service. Really appreciate it.
In regards to the paintball that you were speaking about, do you have suspects? Do you have you got a warrant?
We have leads that we're still working.
Okay. Is there any witnesses in regards to it?
I would speculate on too many details
Okay.
of the case because it is an active case.
Fair enough.
All right, Chief, I'll go for Joe even better. I think you did an excellent job for the time. You've definitely have taken our town and did exactly what we visioned, 2.5 years ago when we ran for office, some of us, to make this department a professional, even rebranding it to a new standard and image. But we thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. Councilwoman Edwards.
I concur.
Yep. Councilmember Cole.
We'll have plenty of time for more accolades.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
You were the
Hey,
right man for the job.
All right. No other questions for the chief? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our next report, our planners report. We welcome Ms. Susanna. And we're on page 31 of our packet. Yep.
You're not on there, Susan.
Yeah, just better. There we go.
There you go, Chris.
Yeah.
I got it.
Can everyone hear me then?
Yeah, maybe just bring it down a little bit lower. There you go.
So,
Welcome.
Is that better? Thank you.
Yes.
It's been a busy month. Lots to get used to and stuff. And you've got the report in front of you. I just have a few things, like I said, that have transpired since I read the report. Under the pain lane, I didn't talk a whole lot about the NOVs and things that are going on. I just wanted to rest assured we are working on those. There are several pronged approaches, several different types of town code that are to be addressed over there. We'll be working with Martin. I've been meeting with Joe to kind of divide up the building versus the zoning, kind of stuff. So there should be hopefully something going out very soon on that. Of course, I would love some feedback about possibly, we're ready to bring the zoning ordinance very, very soon. I know you all have been waiting. If a joint work session with Planning Commission is appropriate, I kind of await your pleasure on that. I will be obviously meeting with Planning Commission on Wednesday night, introducing myself and talking to them about what
what, the future holds about these sorts of things. Subdivision will be a part of the zoning ordinance in this particular iteration. It's a little cleaner, a little more compact, easier to focus. So I don't know if you have any questions about that at all, but.
I think whatever is most efficient to make this thing go forward, whether or not it's a joint or not, I think the councils would be willing to do that, absolutely.
Speaking on the side of the PC liaison, I think the PC would like to be able to look at it first, be able to go through it, because we met with Darren almost, I'd say about 9 months ago, and haven't heard back from him since. So what we would like to do is meet with Darren, speak with him, see how he worked on it. The last time we spoke with him, he took all of our notes and said that he was going to get back to us. So since this would be the first time that we were going to be hearing from him, I think the PC would like to be able to speak to him first, consult, get all of our notes in order, and then be able to come to the town council and then do a joint hearing.
That's exactly what we envisioned. Marchand, he has the draft with him. He took it with him.
What?
We gave
On
Marchand.
vacation?
Well, no. We gave it to him in October, and he didn't finish with all of his reading and commenting and stuff before he left, so he took it with him. But we will be. I'll be giving it to you all on Wednesday, a printed copy without his comments. So,
okay.
You can take it, and
Yeah.
that was my intention anyway.
Okay.
Now Darren would come at your pleasure. He was envisioning a joint work session to present to both. But if it's more appropriate for him to come to just Planning Commission, and then,
Yeah, I wasn't aware, so yeah, it sounds like if we meet with the PC first, that would probably be.
that is the normal course.
Okay.
That is normally how it would happen. With Planning Commission would review and then make recommendation. But given that it's been a length of time before I even got involved, obviously, that if we need to move forward more quickly, a joint work session would be something that we could.
I don't think this is something that the PC wants to rush, although it has taken so long to get back from Darren Coffey and the Berkeley Group. We want to make sure we're doing our due diligence and taking the time to review it. I think that the Planning Commission can easily get it knocked out within a month, so if we get it on November, we can be able to get all of our comments back to Darren to where he can get us back into December. And going into December, I think we could do a joint session.
Well, that was my plan, to just get it to you all and then let you tell me. So I will, that's what will happen.
Okay. Vice Mayor, did you have a?
Yeah, I did have a question. So does that mean Darren will be there this Wednesday?
He was not going to be there this Wednesday. He could be there on another night in November if there were going to be a joint session, or he could come to the next meeting in December if it's still at Planning Commission. We're sort of, this is part of what I was going to talk to you about on Wednesday, but since we're getting into it.
Maybe do a continuation.
I'm just concerned why he can't be there on Wednesday. This is something that he's done for us. I mean, it's taken 9 months for him to get this back to us for us to be able to review.
I think because he wanted me to do it.
Okay.
Because, I also work for Berkeley. Even though I didn't work on the zoning ordinance, I've read it, I've talked with Marchand, and, the intention was to bring it to you in November, and then as you wanted to discuss or whatever else, he would be at another meeting.
Okay.
But
Councilman Morris.
Yeah, but just a question to Mr. Leek. In your opinion, do you think this is something that you and the PC could look at without him being there?
It could be something that we could look at without him. I know that it's nice having, when Marchand was there and having the planning side of it, but if you feel like you can do both parts, represent Darren and the planning side of it, we'd be more than happy to.
I feel like I can, at least at the initial.
Perfect.
Presentation, and that's what I was planning to do. So.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's that, and then there's just a couple other things. The 1 mile review is John Marshall Commons. They have Prince William County has requested additional comments, hopefully of a positive nature. I'm not exactly sure what that's about. I understand that maybe the last comments were not positive that we fed back to them, but I don't know that I would have any input on that at all. I think Planning Commission and the town. I know that our town engineer had some concerns about some of the entrances and things like that. It's not something that I have or would be reviewing. It is something that Marchand is kind of finishing up. If you had anything that you wanted us to fold back into comments.
Well, Yeah, as far as positive, I love the idea of the roundabout, that bringing an entrance to our town with a roundabout, being able to, I think they were even going to put our town sign in there in the roundabout, and being able to deal with that traffic I think that it was VDOT's recommendation that be in there. Now, of course, the other sides of it, as far as the increased traffic that the community brings, or the project brings, I mean, I think that's always a concern. But as far as positive things, I see that initially. I'm not sure if there was other thoughts that we had.
Yeah. I think we have to dust off our comments back to them, because I don't remember exactly, but there was an issue, I think, related to the transition from their walkway to our walkway, the design, and I think Holly was working on that. It was also the number of units that they were going to build, and I know we had...
The connection.
Right.
There was a connection between the adjacent property that's just inside the
Right.
town, and there was some concern that with that connection, they would actually have to sort of coordinate with the county on doing that.
So I guess from my perspective, I'd like to know what some adjustments have been made based on any of our comments. That would be nice to know before commenting back.
I think Holly's biggest concern, if I could just paraphrase what she had shown me with the plans, was that folks coming out of that development might have to wait an awfully long time if they intended to make a left turn because of the coming out near the roundabouts. That since traffic will not pause like it normally would for a light, that it might cause folks to turn right and then come into our town and go basically through our light, or have to make a U-turn. That was her concern, and I'm literally just paraphrasing her
Well, I
words
think
to
you're
me.
correct on that. Yeah.
I have no idea what the feedback on that was. But, so there's that, and then finally, the Board of Zoning Appeals. Kind of tracing back to the NOV situation that we would have as a town anyway, but specifically about some concerns that we have with the property across the street. The Board of Zoning Appeals appears to have 4 members, and I was able to talk with Mrs. Leonard here this evening and verify that we do have 3 members who have been sworn in and are appointed. That is the minimum required. That is our quorum. We could, if someone were ill and we didn't have a quorum, then we could not have a meeting. We have a vacancy because I think someone moved out of town and so therefore is not eligible to serve. We really do need at least one, if not maybe another backup name, to send to the circuit court to have them vet and then confirm.
Maybe we can get Marchant to...
I think Marchant is actually not able to do that for our planning profession.
Doesn't allow you
Does
to.
not allow that for a period of time after serving.
Maybe his wife would then.
Good try.
I don't have any feeling at all for that. I don't know.
If we could be able to at least get one more number for that.
1 or 2 more would be
Okay.
very helpful.
Yep.
Sir, okay.
Yep.
Wasn't there a discussion with the BZA probably a year and a half ago concerning who would the complaints go to instead of a BZA? Was there a discussion, Martin, some time ago?
There was.
I don't recall that.
And would you like to elaborate?
Nothing was decided, but there was some talk about shifting the BZA to Prince William County and let them do it.
There was a discussion, you're right, as part of a charter rewrite that would have had all of our BZA cases going to the Prince William County BZA, but that didn't go forward because we didn't move forward on the charter rewrite.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, so there was discussion, yeah.
Okay, good. If I can just add, sir, I think, and I'm going to be a stickler for this, the tracking format that I've been asking for. And this is one of those where if we had items where there's nothing to discuss in a particular month, nothing needs to be discussed, but it stays active. I just think every department, Jerry, needs to have that tracking format where you have each item, and if there's an action item, we can look on the form and know exactly who we're waiting on for an action item. Because Susanna just mentioned 3 or 2 items that weren't on the list. But if they're there, they can remain dormant as long as possible, as long as we know who we're waiting on for the action item. So I just think it's so important for each department to start putting this tracking format in place. It's going to be helpful for us. It's going to be helpful for new council coming in next year and a half. It's just going to be helpful for us to look at one piece of document and see where we are concerning each of these still active items.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Anything
you,
else?
Susanna.
Any other questions for Susanna?
No. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Sir, just before she leaves, do we need to do anything with BZA? Do we need to try to find someone to get onto the BZA?
Yeah, it looks like we're looking for at least one or two new members, so, and I think we could be able to, I mean, this is definitely a position that might not meet once every couple, 2-3 years, or could meet, you know, whenever we do have this complaint that would
Right, if we have a notice
facilitate
of
a need.
violation that is sent, or if, for instance, someone comes in and I am not able to give them a permit because what they're asking for is not allowed, they have the right to appeal that decision. They have the right to appeal this, and there's a 30-day period during which anyone feeling aggrieved could appeal that decision. That appeal would go to the BZA. We would have to have a meeting to do that, and so that's why it's very important.
And I'm sorry if I missed it, but do you have anything pending now?
Not now,
Okay.
but we are
There's a
working on
potential.
some NOVs that will be going out.
Susanna, could you send an email to us and let us know who the members are, so?
They are on our website. We updated
Oh, they are?
it today.
Okay.
With
The
the
terms.
one vacant, the term would have ended in January. So the new term would
Will be
start in
re-
January if we had someone then.
Okay. Do they serve until replacement, or do they expire?
They're 4-year
Okay.
terms, and they're staggered.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
I'll reach
I just knew that it hadn't been updated, but I didn't look today, so.
We were very meticulous about updating the blurb that's on there
Uh-huh.
about it and who is actually on it. And I'm unable to get in touch with one of the members that's listed. I haven't been, and I've understood maybe I don't have the right email address, but.
Okay, yeah, we'll
But,
definitely help you with that.
Do I have some recollection about we typically have to submit 3 names?
That's correct, yeah.
And the court will
Pick the top
decide
one,
who,
typically.
yeah, typically, okay, so
Yes.
it's not just one, we got to come up with 3 names.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, just logistics on that, yep. Okay. Well, good, thank you.
Thank you, Susanna.
Okay. Our next item is our town manager's report. We're on page 33 of our packet.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I won't take a lot of the time since you have my written report, but just to hit some of the highlights, obviously some of the restructuring of the personnel in the office has been paramount. So far as my priorities have been assigned over the past month, we have been able to restructure some of the personnel. I'm happy to say we've implemented some improved security procedures. We've reached out to our vendors and our professional services who have assisted us a great deal in some training and providing some insight to some of the new staff that has taken on some of these new responsibilities. We were able to get the real property taxes out, and we did also address an issue with the post office because apparently there were some people that did not get their property taxes. You didn't? Okay.
But I keep forgetting to tell Donna.
Yeah, let us know, please. We put it on I think we had it on the website, didn't we?
It's on there.
Yeah.
And I see it every day when I sign in, I think, oh, I need to tell
And,
Donna.
you know, it has to be from the post office. I mean, we sent
We
them
get
all
the
out.
bill regardless of whether they go to the mortgage company.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
the bills
I've
go
always
up.
gotten one.
Yeah, the bills go to the property owners, not the mortgage. So
Maybe a postcard reminder, if we just blast that out, I would think postcards just send
Yeah.
out to the same mailing list that we had.
They probably wouldn't get there.
And maybe we do it in a different color too, so it's really, doesn't blend in with all the other mail.
Yeah, I mean, and we should put it up on Facebook and, you know, text and things like that.
Yeah.
Just to get the message out.
We'll do that, yeah. I mean, I know they all went out. We balanced them. We made sure that they all checked out, so they all went in the mail. It's just a question of where they are.
Right.
When did they get mailed?
Right before we left for VML, I think, wasn't it?
Oh, wow.
Friday.
Yeah, on that Friday
I'm going to
before.
guess October 7th.
We have the worst mail service ever, I'm sorry. We do in this town.
Guess right?
I don't
They-
care.
okay.
It's the
They went out
truth.
that Friday.
Is that a good guess?
We've, our payables and payroll have been, we're keeping up to speed, and a few hiccups, but we've managed to stay on top of that. And one thing that we're doing, that the staff is doing, which I think will be helpful, is we're documenting all the procedures that we use as we go along, and hopefully we'll be able to put together some sort of procedures manual for the office. So, you know, if a new employee comes on, we've got something to tell them, here's step A, B, C, so that they know what to do. We've reorganized and filed all the vendors and their contracts. We've expanded some of the banking services. We can now have electronic deposit. We're able to scan the checks in here rather than going to the bank every day, which is helpful, particularly during taxes coming in.
That's new? That's new?
Yeah, it's been available.
It's always been there.
Yeah.
No, really?
Well, it's been available. We
Well
just haven't
done,
used it.
Jerry.
Yeah.
Well done.
Being
To you
more
and your
efficient.
staff.
Being more efficient government, can you imagine that?
Work smarter, not harder.
We've responded to 14 FOIAs, some of them quite lengthy. We have Susanna, we negotiated successfully the Berkeley Group's contract to bring Susanna on board. I have collected and reviewed and disseminated 11 resumes for the clerk treasurer's position and 34 resumes for the town manager's position. Met with the finance committee and presented year-to-date on the budget, and let me report publicly that the budget's on track.
Say that again, please.
Yeah, I think
The
we
budget
need-
is on track.
Okay.
We're somewhere on average around 30%, 25 to 30% now on our expenditure side, which is exactly where we should be.
So you would be saying that people that may be reading on the internet are not reading from our website?
They're not reading our budget, no. I
They're
don't-
reading websites that any clown can write.
I didn't say that, sir, but I
And also, I think it's important to note about our capital reserve items that we've made
Yeah, and-
expenditures,
and
because that doesn't accurately reflect
Yeah.
the town's.
The town had a lot of capital outlay last year, and some of that shows obviously in the audit. However, it's important to understand that you didn't have your capital budget wasn't broken out last year in a separate capital budget. It came out of the operating budget. And all of the improvements that the town made as a result of that capital expenditure was bricks and mortar types of improvement. I mean, you can physically go see it, touch it, there in the street. And it's because the town had such a strong fund balance and was in such a strong position financially that you were able to do that. You're still in a strong financial position. You have, right now, in liquid assets, I mean, $1.7 million. So you're in a very good financial position. I mean, the size of your budget's not that large, and your assets you're in a good position.
Great, thank you for that.
Sure. As another option with the Finance Committee, we are exploring some financing options for the town center renovation. I've met with BML VACO. Also, this past week, discussed it with Virginia Resources Authority, VRA, which has some additional funding available, and they also have a longer amortization schedule on the debt service, and they're able to stretch it out a little farther. Still working with BML, and that's through Bob and his
Bob
group.
Lauterberg.
They're supposed
Bob,
to
clarify which Bob, please.
Robert Lauterberg, which
Good.
is with
Thank you.
BML VACO. Those options, we're looking now at combining all of the current bonds that we have now into some new structure, and they're going to have a feasibility report for that. They're supposed to have it in the next week or so to see what that looks like, either through VML VACO or Virginia Resources Authority.
Okay.
And that's about it. I just want to publicly state and before the entire council my appreciation to the staff, to Denise and Donna and Susanna who stepped on board. Everyone has really pitched in and contributed to our success in picking up the strings and going with this thing. And if not for them, I would have been in a lot of trouble. So I really appreciate all the hard work from everyone, and I appreciate the hard work from the council members and the mayor who's helped us a lot. And it really feels good to be part of a community like that. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Don't go away.
Yeah.
Don't go away. No, actually, I was going to give you accolades because I like everything I'm reading in this report because it's organized, it's structured, something that we've needed for a long time, and it's going to help guide us going forward, too. So personally, I want to thank you, and I'll let others speak for themselves, but I think that's critical. The other thing is, in response to a previous comment about the budget, I appreciate your sharing that, where we stand. I'm just hoping that for the next meeting,
We'll have a report in there.
we'll have a report in there, because we do say transparent.
Yeah, I agree. It's just
yeah.
been very difficult to get
Yeah.
to find all the numbers and get them in one place. So.
Well, not having it there, it kind of breeds that kind of questioning, and that's fine. That's what people should be doing. They should be asking those kind of questions.
I agree. It's a perfectly legitimate question.
Yeah.
And we'll have that information.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Good deal. Other questions for Jerry?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Okay. Denise? Ms. Andrews? We have some events coming up, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
My favorite, actually, the Haymarket Holiday Celebration. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a few updates. I don't know if you've noticed the two signs, one on the eastern side of town, the other on the western. One actually has like a welcome format on it, the red, white, and blue motif. I'm currently speaking with, the town is in talks with Fauquier Bank as far as being our title sponsor again for next year. So they have first right of refusal. So staff is in negotiations with them right now. So until that's solidified, we do not have anything on the eastern end of town on that town sign, because the title sponsor is actually in the sign itself. However, the sign for our holiday event, and I will forward everyone what that's going to look like. It's very professional. It's very nice. Mayor has seen the proof of that as well. So that I will forward that to all of council as well, so you can see what that sign's going to look like. We are looking for volunteers for the holiday celebration, which is going to be on December 3rd, the first Saturday of December, and it's going to be from 3 to 6. Santa and Mrs. Claus will be back again this year in the courtyard. Hopefully, Vice Mayor Passanello and Commissionwoman Passanello will make the gift boxes again this year. They were beautiful last year. You do your best, yes. And we'll have the cookie station again. We're thinking about adding something new this year where the kids can decorate bags so they can put their cookies in if they decide not to eat them and take them home this year. We'll see how that works. I'll be glad to answer it. Oh, also, Haymarket Lifestyle Magazine will have an article in their December 1 issue about the museum. Every year, the past 3 years, we've had the museum decorated in a different time period. The first year we did it in the year 1850. Last year, we did it in the year, I believe, 17-something, I'm sorry. And this year, we're actually going to the year 1943, which is during World War II. So the museum will be decorated in the style of a home in that time period. We'll have faux food on a table setting that represents that time period. We'll have pictures. We have some pictures in the museum from fellow town members that used to live here from that same era, veterans from the World War II war. And we'll have information available in the museum. So they're doing a one-page article. So please read that when it comes out in December.
Absolutely. Councilwoman Edwards.
Have you reached out to the restaurants for the tasting?
Yes, for the Taste of Haymarket, I have reached out to all of the restaurants here in town. And staff has solidified just about all of the restaurants except for 2, so we'll be going back to those 2 restaurants too.
How about the ones in QBE that use Frontier Kitchen? Did you reach
Yes.
out to the? Okay.
Frontier Kitchen was reached out, as well as the farmers market.
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
good.
To participate.
Good.
Good deal. Other questions for Denise?
Good job.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I did have
Sure.
one quick. Do you have a holiday, a meeting for the
I have
event?
not scheduled one as of yet, but we will have a meeting.
After Saturday, I'm good. I'm good for the meeting, so just let me know. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we can do one or two things. I'll ask the council what they'd like. We could do our council member time up front, or we could go into exec.
Yeah, I think council member time now would be good. It's my opinion.
Okay, all right. We'll start to the right there. Councilmember
Chris's world, we're just living in it, you know?
Aiken, any thoughts or comments? Or, excuse me, we have names here. Apology. Councilman Cole.
No,
Okay. Councilwoman Edwards.
I'm good.
Councilman Aiken.
I'd just like to give my thanks to the chief and his 30-some years of service. And I know that our department is in good enough shape that we don't have to rush out and get a new chief, that will be able to use the people we have and be able to continue on as we find the right chief, as we did with you. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay. Hoorah. Councilman Morris.
Sir, thank you. I think the only comment I have is if you don't vote, then you shouldn't complain. So tomorrow is go out and vote.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Back on that.
Okay.
Because
Vice Mayor.
if we got 1,200 people, now I wonder how many were from town, but 1,200 people to vote for the community park, I think we should look at another way to get folks to participate in the town election, and we'd really get some voices heard. So I was struck by that. It's just amazing. 1,200 people.
90% was outside of town.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's incredible. So, and just want to say, you're absolutely right. Vote tomorrow, if you haven't already.
There you go. Councilmember Leake.
Yes, sir. Piggyback off Councilmember Morris and Passanello, tomorrow is probably one of the greatest days that we have that come every 4 years in regards to our right to vote. Not all countries have the right that we have, and no matter your party, race, sex, make sure you go out and vote. It's one of our God-given rights that we have in this country, and it's absolutely phenomenal that we're able to do it every 4 years, and just encourage everyone in the audience as well as watching online to go out and vote tomorrow.
Absolutely. All right. I have no other comments, so we'll go directly into our closed session. I'll just ask Martin to bring us in. With the, sure.
As I talked to you earlier.
No problem. Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, the form of the motion would be that the council convene in closed session to discuss the following 3 items. As permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A1, a personnel matter, specifically the appointments of town manager and police chief, as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A7, consultation with legal counsel regarding the pending case of Blue Sky Events versus the town, and also permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.23711A7, consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff with regard to the matter requiring advice of counsel, specifically the Genesis contract dispute.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right. Anyone opposed? We
I'm
could,
not sure what to
yeah.
do since I'm not going to abstain.
Yeah.
For Martin?
For both.
This?
No, the motion. Yeah,
Oh, yes.
you can do it.
Ready? Okay, Martin, you want to bring us back into open session?
Thank you, Mayor. The motion being the form that the council certifies that in the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act cited in that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman-
Tied.
Roll call.
Yeah. Councilman Lee, second. We'll go ahead and,
Morris.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Casanello.
Aye.
okay, and I believe we have some motions here.
I make a motion that the town attorney and the acting town manager proceed as directed, and the mayor, I'm sorry, proceed as directed for the town manager position and the Blue Sky and Genesis
And Chief of Police.
and Chief of Police. That was a lot.
I will second.
Vice Mayor, discussion on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, great, that's our most important thing. There again, go out and vote tomorrow.
Move
If
to
you haven't
adjourn.
already.
Second.
And we have a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you all very much.
So are we going to do this next month?